When it comes to HBO Max's Lovecraft Country, one of my primary focuses in properly analyzing the show is avoiding any type of major analyzation before it's run its full completion. I'd even made a past video announcing that I'd had the honor of interviewing a very special guest from the show on behalf of North Caesar, Monique Candelaria, who so kindly took the time to speak and share with me her experiences through her very powerful portrayal of two-spirit character Yahima. The interview is now available to watch on the North Caesar IGTV, Facebook, and our YouTube, which is advancing higher and higher every day to breaking 3.3K followers and has been growing at an incredibly healthy rate these last few months thanks to you, our dedicated followers. That said, I'll hold off this time on my usual brand of in-depth, informative, educational, and entertaining analyzation of Lovecraft Country until after the final episode, particularly because I am super excited to see Black and LGBTQIA+ icon Janelle Monáe perform a VR or virtual reality concert that's set to align with Lovecraft Country's highly anticipated season finale. All that said, there's just enough time to binge watch Lovecraft Country on HBO Max, or if you have a Hulu subscription that comes with HBO Max. And if you still need a reason to experience this ethereal yet intensely visceral display of creative and historically accurate Black excellence, well, I'm Jax, your senpai with an encyclopedic knowledge of anime, manga, video games, hentai, TV, and more, and here are North Caesar Entertainment's spoiler-free top 5 reasons why you need to be watching Lovecraft Country. Number 1. Brilliant Black minds are redefining the horror and sci-fi genres entirely. While the show itself is based off the 2016 dark fantasy horror novel by Matt Ruff, for those of us who hadn't read the novel before becoming well acquainted with its live-action adaptation, one of the primary reasons that so many Black people were excited for this show was that it was being developed, executively produced, and written by series showrunner Misha Green, as well as jointly and executively produced by Academy Award-winning horror icon Jordan Peele. As someone who has personally dedicated their entire life to creative writing, as well as being a lifelong fan of the horror genre, I, along with so many other Black creators and horror and fantastical sci-fi fans, were beside ourselves with joy and anticipation to see that Misha Green, a Black woman, would be helming one of the most groundbreaking live-action productions in recorded history. Number 2. Lovecraft Country is a star-studded affair of Black and POC, or people of color, excellence. Every last performer in this show deserves an Emmy, and if you think that's just overblown hyperbole on my end, then I present to you reason 2 to watch Lovecraft Country if you already haven't. The astronomical performances of every cast member help breathe life kicking and screaming into each and every episode and all of its bloodshed, glorious triumphs as each performer molds themselves flawlessly to the mirror image of the very complex characters they so richly embody. And yes, this goes extra for every last extra on the show as well, who brings to the forefront of each scene the untold stories of those caught in the crossfire of a perpetually whitewashed history's attempt to silence them. It's critically important that Black and POC creators and actors are given the opportunity to see themselves represented in the vast creative genres and roles we so long to see ourselves portrayed in. And honestly, it was watching the performances of the cast of Lovecraft Country, along with my decision to dedicate myself fully to becoming a professional voice actor, that deeply inspired me to recently enroll in my school's intensive acting training program so that I too, along with so many different melanated actors, can one day pour life into characters as real, raw, inspiring, and as unapologetically melanated and dedicated as the cast of Lovecraft Country. Number 3. It's a vivid and unapologetic history lesson that shames what we were taught in most American and international schools. Lovecraft Country hits significantly different depending on who is viewing it and the circumstances that they come from. I personally grew up the child of generational Black activists, had the opportunity to attend a Pan-African charter school in Chicago, Illinois, named the Betty Shabazz International Charter School, and as a result of being Black, autistic, queer, and non-binary transgender, am subsequently affected by and active within many multiple facets of social justice. So imagine the surprise, but at the same time, not really surprise, more like a reminder of just how disappointing and broken the American and international school systems really are, upon finding out that many people, including certain Black people, didn't know what a sundown town was until Lovecraft Country aired, in the same way that a startling number of Americans weren't familiar with the Tulsa riots until watching 2019's Watchmen, which, as of October 20th, 2020, will mark one entire year since its debut on HBO Max as well. Most Black, Indigenous, and people of color know early in life that much of our rich and long-standing cultures and histories are violently lost to whitewashing and the perpetual white supremacy that is absolutely dedicated to telling our stories through white narratives that cannot even begin to grasp the intricacies of our respective cultures, no matter how they may try and fail to emulate it, and everything else that comes along with it, very often mistaking appreciation for appropriation, namely because they fetishize and fail to do the appropriate research on the cultures or people that they are trying to depict, or they intentionally ignore or drown out the true voices that they're looking to speak over by trying to tell us how to tell our own story. stories. Lovecraft Country, just like any form of art, regardless of the media it's presented in, is by no means a faultless masterpiece. However, it's doing a hell of a lot better in educating people of the blood-soaked and triumphant Black, Indigenous, POC, and LGBTQIA+ narratives that so many Americans tend to conveniently gloss over when it comes time to discussing the violent history that hammers in what any marginalized group in this country has always known, that America was never truly great in the first place, and that shows like Lovecraft Country and Watchmen can pave the way for that improvement. Number 4, the not-so-hidden figures of Black history. Lovecraft Country is an emotional epistle of love that finally shines the well-deserved spotlight on many iconic Black figureheads in history in such a way that when these characters appear in the show, it will catch even the most knowledgeable minds of Black history completely off guard. One of these cameos that brought sheer tears of joy to Black Twitter, as well as to myself as a lifelong fan of motorcycles, was none other than the beautifully emotional homage to Episode 7's Bessie Stringfield, the legendary motorcycle queen of Miami and the first and only Black woman to ride her motorcycle solo through the Jim Crow era South, and the first Black woman to ride across America in its entirety. There's countless other references to famous Black historical figures, and Lovecraft Country deserves its roses for seeing to it that these hidden figures are finally given the chance to show just how they illuminated this world with their greatness. Number 5, Lovecraft Country is a timeless memento that reminds us we've still got a long way to go, but that change is possible. What makes Lovecraft Country such an effective experience is that despite it taking place in the quote-unquote past, the themes and historical elements are still painfully applicable to today. And if you're still in denial about what's going on in this world and to Black people, to people of color, and to marginalized groups, even after watching this show, then you're intentionally choosing to ignore this country's true history and its long-felt generational impact felt most on the intersectionality of Black, Indigenous, people of color, and LGBTQIA+ peoples. That's the entire point of creative multimedia as a whole, to tell the truth using the delicately interwoven aspects of fiction and nonfiction with the metaphorical buffer between what we watch on our phones, TVs, and computers, and meant to feed this information to you in a way that will not only educate you, but also hold your attention to the themes and narratives of Lovecraft Country long after the show has ended. I also use the word buffer very loosely because I can tell you, especially for Black and other marginalized groups of people watching this show, that we don't have the privilege of having this buffer exist for us, because we ourselves, very much like our ancestors, are literally living through certain struggles today that this world continues to try and tell us and convince us and lie to us happened a long time ago. Lovecraft Country has no such buffer for people like us, and that's precisely why it's the critically acclaimed, unabashed piece of artwork that it is. Lovecraft Country tackles the way that Black families have been scared straight and forced into keeping quiet or not acknowledging certain things within our own communities for literal generation. And Lovecraft Country graphically shows the same generational trauma and perpetuated negative impact this has on the Black community and us as a people as a whole. Then and now, Lovecraft Country, I cannot stress enough, is best viewed as a medium that presents to us not only the history and trauma and triumphs we carry within us that's been passed down from our ancestors that fought and survived to us and so forth on to the next generation, but should also be viewed as a way for us to acknowledge, accept, and learn from our own rich and proud history and culture so that we can begin as a culture, as a community, as a people, to continue the healing process as a whole. Thanks again for watching, everyone. What did you think of Lovecraft Country so far? If you've seen it, and if you haven't, have we encouraged you to finally give it a try? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to North Caesar Entertainment for more in-depth, informative, educational, and entertaining analyses, reviews, and lists of your favorite anime, manga, video games, and more for the culture.